Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Knights, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 49 of The World Which Is. See what you got us into? Ellen yells at Brandon as she pushes against the now closed off tunnel. Can you blast it open? He replies a lot calmer than I think the situation calls for. We're basically trapped now, unless we unless we can beat the whole dungeon, I think. She glares at him. Let's remember I'm in present tense. She glares at him and bring all of this down on us? I don't know if you've noticed, Bran, but it's basically just packed earth around us. And with those worm things that are crawling through, there's no way it's stable enough not to come crashing down if I just explode part of it. Okay, he replies. Okay? She demands. Are you fucking out of your mind with okay? You said we'd be turning around if things got too tough for them. How the fuck do you plan on doing that with this in the way? I do my best not to show my worry when he looks in my direction. The fear is clear on Silver's face. Yeah, and this is where I realize that for what continues to work, I need when I do the second draft, I need to make sure that there are branches previously. Look, this is a branching tunnel, dungeon. He says in a calm tone. That means there are ways to return to the entrance. All we need to do is start taking branches that double back and we'll be outside in no time. And how are we going to do and are you going to know we're going in the right direction? Oh, mighty explorer. Will know, he replies, surprisingly unaffected by her derisive tone. When the creatures we're fighting go down in level. And before you bitch about that too, yes, I'm aware it means we'll probably have to go up against higher level ones before we find the right path. But Dennis is high enough to deal with them, and Silver can gain from the experience. Do I have to? She asks, and I give her the most reassuring smile I can. Brendan's plan makes sense. Do you have to fight? He replies. No, of course not. Silver, you don't have to do anything you don't want to. Even if the situation has cut down to the options a bit. I'm just saying that with Dennis fighting at your side and me and Hal as backup, it's a safe situation to gain experience. You don't even have to kill any of the creatures. Since we formed a party, you get a trickle of any of Dennis's. You get a trickle from any kill Dennis's makes. Any of Dennis's kills. That sounds better. You get a trickle from any of Dennis's kills. That's possessive then. Can't we take yours instead? She asks, voice still trembling. He shakes his head. Me and Hal are too high level. The experience gain needs to register for it to trickle to you and Dennis. He smiles. And you'll go up in level a lot faster if you take part in the fighting. It'll be fine, he adds. Even Ellen seems mollified. I feel confident enough. I checked for a buff from his speech, but there isn't one. Oh, okay. With another reassuring smile, I start walking. I get now why Brandon isn't a fan of the crank light, although he shouldn't have the problem I'm having, since he fights with his fist. Cranking the handle while holding my sword isn't comfortable. Four of the fly comes at us, two trains of step later, and I drop the light in my rush to prepare. My ring still gives us enough light, and Brandon's back enough. The beam of his light crystal adds to that. You scored a hit. Brandon exclaims, how does it feel? She looks at him in disbelief. Scary. I'll get used to that. I pick up the light and wedge it between me and my belt. It's not comfortable, but the beam is ahead of us, even if it balances balances left to right as I walk. Even if it eh, travels. I don't like travels here, but I like it better than balances. Even if it travels left to right as I walk, man, I don't have to worry about dropping it. The next volley of flies is 5 of them, level 5. And again, Silver manages to nick one of them as she flays about. Then we reach a bifurcation, and I look at Brandon. Okay, you and Silver stay here while me and Hal recon that branch to see if it doubles back. Is that safe? I ask before he moves. What if the dungeon closes it off and we're separated? He opens his mouth, closes it, then looks at Ellen. What are you looking at me for? She asked. You're the expert on dungeons. Okay, he says through clenched teeth. One of you stands here. He points to the entrance of that branch in the tunnel. That way, it won't be able to close it off. He glares at Ellen as if daring her to comment. What if it closes anyway? Silver asks as I stand where Brandon pointed. And Dennis is killed in the process? The question leaves him perplexed and me questioning the wisdom of standing here. It probably can't. Ellen finally says with a sigh of exasperation, dungeons aren't made to kill anyone with structures like door, even hidden ones. I thought I was the expert, Brendan says. Then maybe you should have read books on dungeons, she replies. I'm no expert, but I hang out with researchers, so I hear stuff. Are you sure? I ask her. As sure as I can be. I nod. Go check it. I'll keep the passage from closing. He and Ellen vanish in the darkness, and soon even his light isn't visible anymore. Aren't you scared it's going to close anyway? Silver asks. She's closer, but still far enough she can't be caught if the passage does close. A little, I admit, cranking the light to distract me. Yeah, you know what? As a distraction. As a distraction. Then why are you staying there? Because I'd rather we don't get separated if I can help it. I smile at her. And I tell myself that if the dungeon's is going to close this, it won't just make a wall appear like with me in the middle. I'll have time to get out of the way. The light returns and Brandon shakes his head. As far as we can tell, that passage heads in the same direction as this one, so we might as well continue. We make it past another intersection, which they go check before we come to a warning. Before we come to a warning, we'll be fighting in the form of a spider's web blocking the way. There's even a dead fly cocooned in it. The spider isn't visible for the moment, but there are many holes in along where the web's attached to the stone wall. I get as close as I dare and shine my light through. I don't see more webs, which means it's only one spider, Brennan replies. Probably. Maybe we should go back to the other branch, Ellen says with a shudder. I doubt it's going to do any good, he says. The passage heads in this direction, so it'll have a similar monster progression. He looks at me. If you don't feel like taking it on, I will. I'll do it, I reply. If it's just one, I'll be fine. Okay. Typically, spider can spit goo that'll follow you up. It's sticking like the web and pretty tough to cut. It's sticky. Sticky, like the web, and pretty tough to cut or break. In a dungeon, it might be able to do a few extra things, but it should be low enough level they won't be fight ending. I can burn the web, Ellen says, snapping her fingers and making a flame appear over them. You might kill it, Brendan says. Let Dennis have a go at it. I almost slashed through it to get the spider's attention, then think better of it. The last thing I want is to get my sword stuck on it. I take 3 steps back and lob an arrow at it. It sticks to it, and the whole web shudders and keeps shuddering, which is when I realize it's no longer the arrow doing it. The spider squeezes out of a hole that seems much too small for it. It is black, and the carapace reflects the light as if it's wet. Dungeon Spider, Level 8. Dungeon spiders feed off the errant fly that wanders into its web, as well as the careless adventurer who underestimates them. Perception check failed. You've got this, Brenton says, as I'm about to ask for his help. Just stay calm. You know how to fight. Make your first hit count. That's the most important one since it isn't paying attention to you yet. I take a breath and take a train minus to study it while it pokes at the arrow with a leg. The carapace will be armored, but its eyes won't be. I start there, and at the very least, it'll get penalty to its attack for poor vision. I close the distance, and as I hope, the sound makes it look in my direction. My thrust goes right into its eye, and it lets out a sound. It lets out a sound that, other than hurting my ears, I can't identify. It jerks its head, and I nearly lose the grip of my sword. Then my health bar flashes in time with the pain in my side as its leg pierces through the armor. I don't lose as much as I expect, a tenth at most, but an orange debuff appears. System query. Poison type. Weak. There should be a period here. You have been poisoned and will lose 1 hit point per second until a counter agent has been used or it has run its course. A second one, red this time, appears as I pull away and the leg leaves a small hole in my side. Okay, so, right, this I copied. All right. You know what? This is going to be changed to just debuff. Debuff, bleeding. You are bleeding. You will lose 1 hit point every second until the injury has been seen to or heals naturally. Silver, I could use that healing song right now. I block the leg it tries to stab me with, then push it aside for another thrust, which skids off its carapace and leaves me off balance. I lose a lot more health this time as the leg hits with more strength. 2/10 this time? No other debuff, so they don't stack. That's good. I tried to stab it, being so close already, but the point of my sword skids off again. I pushed myself off at the cost of a second bleeding debuff, but Silver plays her violin and they both quickly go from red to orange and towards green as I watch the spiders skitter around. Something comes at me from its maw and I have my shield in the way, but the thing that hits spreads over it and my arm. Cursing, I send it to my inventory to deal with, but it doesn't go anywhere. I'm out of the way of the next strike, but then I'm on my back from the glancing blow. I slash to stop its advance, and a leg falls off, causing it to retreat and giving me the time to deal with why my shield doesn't want to move from the ground. It's fucking stuck there. Brandon's next to me. You okay? Don't, I say as he grabs the strand-covered edge of my shield and pulls up. Ripping it off the ground. When he steps away, the gloves he wore stay stuck against my shield. I get to my feet. I'm okay, I tell him, then glare at the fucking spider. He grabs my shoulder and turns me so I have to look at him. Don't get angry, Dennis. You can't win if you can't think. Whatever you feel right now, swallow it. I'm sure that grandmother of yours taught you to keep your emotions out of the fight. So you do that right. So you do that right now. Got it? I swallow and nod. He's right. Anything that clouds my judgment will only lead to me losing the fight. Brendan will be there to save my ass again, but I'd really rather finish this on my own. When it opens its maw again, I jump out of the way, and the glop of gooey filaments splashes against the wall. Silver is still playing, but I can't tell if it has an effect on my health. When it comes at me again, I bash its head with my shield, hoping it'll stick, and I'll stay with it as I stab, but while I stagger it aside, my shield is clearly not sticking. I wait for it again, hoping to get a shot at its other eye, but it's too fast this time, and all I get is more loss of health and a bleeding debuff that quickly cycles to green and vanishes. When it jumps at me, I roll under it, only for my shield to get struck on the ground again, but this time I manage to pull it off without help, although it's heavier from all the stuff stuck to it. It dances around me, and when I feint left, it moves there, letting me cut off another leg. But the bitch is fast, and there goes more of my health. The slash goes wide as I push off, and the bleed debuff is there. Don't attack, Silver calls as I'm about to launch. I need 10 seconds. I go on the defensive as the music changes, stepping out of its way. I go out on the defensive, stepping out of its way as the music changes. You have been buffed. Strength of the underdog. I smile as I suddenly feel better and have a longer health bar. It's still slightly under half full, but that's more than I had before comparatively. I dodge a few of its strike while mine keeps skidding off its carapace. I almost get in the eye, but it jerks out of the way at the last moment, and I end up stabbed again. I land a punch before pushing away, but all that does is hurt my hand. Focus, Dennis, Brendan calls. I bit my angry reply and do what he says. I have the training. I'm better than that. Grandmother saw to it. She would be so pissed if she saw how close. How close I am to losing it right now. When it comes at me, I wait too long to get out of the way, but along with the stab that hurts more than takes away from my boosted health, I manage to lodge my sword at the joint between its front and back part of its between the front and back part of its body. Then I yank and it sends me flying. Instead of the expected pain of hitting a wall, hitting a wall, I'm caught in something that wavers back and forth, and I can't pull myself out of it. I'm caught in its web. Brandon puts a hand on Ellen's arm, stopping her motion as the spider takes a step in my direction, and I wonder what he's doing when I notice the goo it's leaving behind. It staggers to the side and seems to attempt to right itself, only to overcorrect. Then it trips and falls. It shudders and goes still. For confirmation, I open the combat log and look at the last entry. You have killed a dungeon spider, level 8. You gain 1,353 experience. I sigh in relief. Then look at the others standing there watching the dead spider. Is anyone interested in cutting me down from this thing? And that concludes chapter 49 of The World Witches. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter is going to be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read the story, it is up for free on Royal Road. If you want to read ahead of that and support me in the process, that is on my Patreon, where we are about 10 chapters ahead. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. The links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.